Well, get this. One teacher in California now under investigation for teaching his students outside. Andrew Libson is a longtime physics teacher at Mission High School in San Francisco. Thought it would be a good idea to teach his kids outside. It was the middle of spring break. Students had spent the last few months learning online, of course, indoors. Now the school's looking into the teacher's actions and whether he violated school policy. Well, he joins us now to share his side of the story. Andrew Libson, physics teacher in San Francisco at Mission High School. Andrew, thanks for coming on today. And today actually happens to be National Teachers Day. So we thank you for the important role that you play in shaping our students' lives. But if you could just tell me and tell our viewers why you wanted to host a class outside and also how the administration responded.
So there's been a few of us teachers. Well, first of all, thank you. And there have been a few of us teachers who as far back in August, we never felt we should have gone remote. We felt it was not safe for our students. It was not safe for their families. And it really wasn't even safe for us educators, because we do feel like remote education is not just this year, it's here to stay. And we're going to be getting more of it in the future, pandemic or not. So we never felt this was a way to go. And we were hoping to have schools open in August. And we started to talk about that amongst ourselves, a group of us teachers, back in October of 2020. And frankly, we didn't get much of a hearing from our fellow teachers and from administration or anything like that. So by around January, we started talking about a way of reaching out to parents and our students to talk to them about what's going on in education. One, to give ourselves a chance to meet our students in person. We hadn't been able to do that all year. Two, to remind our students that education is a social experience. It's not just something you can get in a box, and it needs to be something you do in conjunction with other students in 3 dimensions, and with adults. It's a social thing. And last, we were hoping to find other parents who we could really talk to about the future of education and what's happening in education and what we can do to preserve the idea that in-person education is really what education is about.
Yeah.
So that's where it started in terms of the idea.
Well, what you speak to is so, I think, clear to either someone who's been through schooling and would know how important it is to be in the classroom, especially when you're on Zoom. It's so easy to sort of tune out what's going on your screen. But parents would understand the importance as well. Clearly, you decided to do so and host this course, and yet the school didn't approve of that decision. Tell me what happened next.
Well, so first, the next thing we did, though, was reach out to parents and say, hey, we're doing a non-school thing. We're doing our thing on our own time during spring break. If you can come out, you can come out with us. If with parent approval, your student could join us in Golden Gate Park. And I was going to teach a lesson on circuits. I think some other people did some other things. And I had a response of about 11 students, and families came out, and it was awesome. But that following Monday, coming back from spring break, I was asked about, hey, I heard you had a class outside. Is that true? And I said yes and no. I said, yes, I did invite students who had parent approval to come and join us out there. But it was not a class. It was not a student, it wasn't a school function. It was just some educators going out in the park and inviting some students to come and join us. And then later I was called into a meeting with my principal, who asked me a series of questions about, how many people were there? Why did you do this? Did you wear a mask? Do you understand the rules about safety or about the district not doing in person? I answered those questions to the best of my ability, and then was told at the end that this was going to be looked into by HR, Human Resources. Now, they have had a finding now, and at one point I was, worried about what was going to happen, and that's why I didn't stay silent about it. I got the word out, because I didn't want the district to say, oh, there's some unsafe teacher running around trying to give kids COVID, but to say, no, there's somebody who cares about education and who wants kids to experience real education. And parents were very supportive of this story. Students were very supportive. My fellow teachers, mixed response. And eventually I was issued what's called a counseling memo, which is basically the lowest level of warning, saying, don't do that again. this is not going to be in your file, but if you do it again, you can go on to a verbal warning, written warning, and then suspension. So it's sort of the lowest level warning you can get.
Still, again, clearly not supported by
Right.
the administration that you work for. And what's so interesting, Andrew, is that, you would be among your peers of teachers, right? And tell me about if they've noticed similar trends that you have with their students falling behind rather in their lessons. Are they speaking out to these unions? Is it the unions that are keeping teachers out of the classrooms? Is it the administration? Who's really holding this in-person learning back?
I mean, from my vantage point, I would say this starts with Silicon Valley and Wall Street. I mean, and the politicians, both Democrat and Republicans. From my vantage point, is that this whole last year, which has been talked about in terms of COVID and safety and things like that, has not been about safety. It's been about control. It's been about profits. It's been about wealth distribution upward to Wall Street and Amazon. And they benefit from keeping students separated, from keeping us separated. And the reality is that remote education is going to mirror remote work. And there's more profits are going to be made by automating our jobs, by automating my students' jobs, by collecting their data, and basically making their school experience look like what work will look like in the future. And we all need to fight against this. So frankly, unfortunately, I've been active in my union for 20 years. I'm a supporter of unions. I believe unions exist for one reason, to strike. Our union has not struck in 40 years, so our union isn't doing its job. But on this question, our union is taking the wrong position, largely because I think most teachers are taking the wrong position because they're falling for the fear and they're falling for the idea that we are safer kept separated. And they're wrong about that.
Yeah.
We are actually much more in danger. Our students are much more in danger, and we as workers are much more in danger being separated behind our laptops.
Yeah, no, hey, you're speaking out, really advocating for those kids. Clearly, the district, the administration is just not listening. But we appreciate you sharing the story. It's so important, as you say, for the future of those kids. I know you're kind of looking big picture, but in the small picture, you've got kids falling behind in their studies.
Yeah. This will be important for teachers to find ways to preserve the idea that in-person carbon-based learning is better than silicon-based learning.
Sure. Sure.
And that's going to be important for all of us teachers to begin to stand up for that in one way, shape, or form or another.
Yeah, the kids learn so much better in the classroom. It's so important. Andrew Libson joining us on National Report. We appreciate it, Andrew. Thanks so much.
Thanks.